Hello, Igor. Can you
Hi.
introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Igor. I'm head of virtual production at post-production called Fillmore, and I'm a co-founder of the Allard VP virtual production studio.
Okay. And can you give a little bit of a background of where you came from and how you got into filmmaking?
Well, I originally came from Ukraine, and I got into filmmaking basically from afar. I started off as a 3D modeling specialist.
VFX.
Yeah, well, first it was architectural modeling, so I was doing just
okay.
visualization stuff. And then I moved slowly into visual effects, and I started learning visual effects online using FX PhD as one of the sources. That's where I met cool guys like Gareth Edwards and Stu Maschwitz, and they were all the tutors over there. And so I was doing visual effects. I had a small boutique. We were doing some visual effects for global shows as well, including Red Dwarf, thanks to FX PhD. And so fun stuff, and I was waiting for filmmaking to bloom in Ukraine, and here.
But like VFX in Ukraine is pretty strong.
It is pretty strong.
And animation as well, like
both.
in-game.
Yeah, both. But basically, the whole IT sphere and creative is very strong in Ukraine. Filmmaking is getting stronger, but back when I was doing it, and it was like quite a long time ago, I was hoping it to become more active, and here we are doing visual effects, but it just won't happen. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to just go into production. And I educated myself, started to do screenwriting, directing. I started as a DP, as a videographer first. I bought my Panasonic DVX 100, which is a first mini DV camera that shoots progressive.
It shoots 24p, right?
25p.
Branded for like 25p.
It was a European version, so it was 25p.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Did you get the front mount that you can change to
the
Nikon?
35mm adapter? No, because it was too expensive. I didn't get it.
It was like Red Rock Micro, right?
Yeah, there was a thing. Yeah, you know this stuff. Yeah.
And then everybody would just buy the cheap Nikon lens and put it in front of it.
Yeah, well, we had better stuff. We had eventually when I upgraded to DSLRs, and actually my first DSLR was Panasonic Lumix GH1.
Okay.
And I had an adapter for M42 mount, and I have old Soviet lenses like Jupiter 9 and
the
Helios,
old Russian lenses.
Helios 44. Yeah, I had all those.
You were shooting Dune, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a lot of fun.
And then you went from that to do commercials?
I eventually went into directing, and I did commercials as well as short films, and there was a few attempts to do a feature film that unfortunately never happened, but I had the honor...
Hadn't happened yet.
Hadn't happened yet, yeah. And I had the honor and pleasure to work even with some Hollywood actors like Tony Todd and Eric Roberts. It was...
How was that?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was one of the best experiences I ever had directing actors. The level of professionalism and at the same time being extremely humble is just incredible.
You know, I hear that kind of about every actor who's like just beyond, like almost beyond the fame, and to the point that they're in this space where they're just like iconic, is that they're all quite humble, like surprisingly humble.
They are surprisingly humble and very deep and very friendly.
It's like they don't need to be nice, but they're nice, and that's why people are like. Well,
yeah, but at the same time, I have to say, like with Tony, he reads people really well, and if a person is full of crap,
he just like turned away.
Yeah, he turned. Basically,
he doesn't need that in his life.
No.
He's like. Psh.
And that's incredible how easily he reads that.
Oh wow!
I was quite surprised.
And that was a short film, or what was it?
It was a feature film, actually.
Oh,
with Tony, it was a feature film. We shot 5 days of
5
days, and then the producer ran basically out of money, so we never.
And he just like cut it.
Yeah.
I see. So,
but
what happens with 5 days of footage?
Well, still something I show to friends.
You can just like, cut it up into a short film, maybe, or?
No, there's not enough story for a short film, but there are some nice shots in there.
Yeah.
Because we took Tony in a small Soviet airplane. I mean, it was on the ground, but still. We took him to an actual working prison, female prison.
Okay.
And we shot inside there, and yeah, some nice places.
Natural female prison.
Yeah, the actual working female prison. And he was so professional that when he had his lines, so eventually there would like some sort of an alarm go off. Every so often in the prison, somebody touched something or something.
Yeah, yeah. Or someone's like breaking
And he would
out.
just for that moment, he would make a very expressive silence, and then would go on when the alarm goes silent again, so that it doesn't spoil the sound, because we record the sound on set. So, I mean, the level of professionalism, right? He would pause, but he would make that pause not like a technical pause, but like an artistic one. It's kind of cool.
That's next level, right?
Yeah,
that's like where you just kind of pause and then start again.
No, he did it perfectly within the character.
And then, so after these short films or in features, when did you get into virtual production?
Well, actually, to be honest, by accident. So we moved here because of the war. And I relocated my family here, and due to peculiarities of the local legal system, I couldn't work as a freelancer in here, so I had to find a job. And I found eventually one, and I was proposed a job as a head of virtual production. And we quickly realized that, so the idea was to provide content for virtual production. And since I was in 3D and since I was a filmmaker, I did both. And I even worked a little bit as a director for cinematics, for game cinematics. Because usually the people who do cinematics, they're like the 3D artists. They're great at creating 3D art, but they're not very great at telling the story with the camera. Nor are they usually great with knowing how the actual camera moves in real life.
That's always the critic of cinematics, right? Where they have very like robotic or without weight camera.
And one of the incredible cool things about Pixar, that all of their movies from the very first, they follow the physics of the actual camera in real life, and that's why they work so well.
Did you use VCam for that, or did you?
No. But back then it was just I was doing a previews basically for the actual artist to then replicate it and do the actual camera move. So I worked with Unreal already a little bit. And then, then I was proposed to head the virtual production and create the content. And we quickly realized that as long as we're not next to a studio where the virtual production is happening, we're missing all the job. Because
missing all the
jobs. Because in the head of a producer, he's going pre-production, production, post-production. And at the time of a production, he goes to a studio to make an agreement. And then a studio usually has a post house or a content provider attached to the studio. By the time they come to the post-production house where I work, and we tell them we actually do the content as well, they go, oh, we already signed up an agreement. Yeah, we already have that. So we quickly realized that we need to be next to the production house, to the studio ourselves. And that's how this partnership came into fruition. So now I became the co-founder of this studio.
So, because it was, you said you were losing a job, and also kind of like virtual production, having these, if everything's in Unreal, or if everything is kind of the pre-production and the post-production is all one house, then would you say that like the assets can be used, through the whole process and not starting over? Like that's the idea basically. So the idea is you still have the same budget for the film. You have a budget for the film. You cannot just get more money to do virtual production. So the way you get money for virtual production is you take them out of the post-production budget. So whereas before you would shoot on a green screen and then you would do post-production, designing those worlds and stuff, you get the same people and the same money you used in post. You develop those worlds before you actually start shooting. So you're utilizing the same talent, the same budget. The company doesn't suffer. Nobody basically suffers because there is an idea that the virtual production is basically going to screw up post houses. No, it won't. It's the same people. If you're quickly changing the mentality into developing all this stuff you develop in post-production in pre-production, then you can still survive. And you just kind of have to like break up the mindset that they're pre-production or like believe that it's all siloed, and rather that everything is kind of merging.
Now
together.
It's all like intertwined, and you really have to have your head.
How do you convince? Well, in the new company, how do you convince like new business or clients that this is actually saving money, not like costing more?
Well, it's not always saving money. So one of the first things I actually tell, if there are exemptions to virtual production, sometimes you're better off shooting for real, and you're going to save money actually. And the last thing I want is to convince people to try virtual production. They come shoot in virtual production, and they end up spending more money than they could have. because we had those examples with other companies. And one of our friends spoke with a big-time producer here in the Netherlands, and she said, well, you will have to try really hard to convince me to try virtual production again, because my DP convinced me before I tried. I ended up spending 3 times the budget.
And it wasn't that.
And it wasn't that good. So it's not for everything. So you have to really.
And that hurts the whole industry.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody hurts from that. And that's exactly that.
Okay. So how do you convince that person to come back out of virtual?
At first, well, that's why we started doing virtual production Fridays. Is the idea to basically showcase stuff. Seeing is believing in this case.
Has she come yet?
No, not yet. No.
You gotta slowly ease it up, and then she hears.
Yeah, no, we need to be on par. And last time we did virtual production Fridays, there was a pretty tough audience. There was one.
What tough?
Well, there was one high-level director, and she was very picky about all the minor.
You had a heckler? You're the heckler, right? In a way.
No. Well,
like when you do stand up and the person's just like, "You suck."
Yeah. Well, almost. Well, she didn't do that, but she was very picky about details and aliasing issues and the graphics and stuff like that.
And how do you convince them otherwise?
Well, it's pretty hard to convince them because it's also a learning curve for us. Sometimes you design stuff, you think it works, and then you run it and you realize, okay, you hit a bottleneck, a specific tiny bottleneck that was nobody thought about, and you hit it and you're like, yeah, I shouldn't have designed
something particular about that, like trees or something that I guess is
in this case, like it was basically a set. You've seen it. We designed like a window in a kitchen. So a window has a very sharp edge.
Yeah.
And this sharp edge being in focus creates aliasing issues, like jagged lines when you move the camera. When the camera is still, it's fine, but when you move the camera, due to the algorithm Unreal uses, like even temporal anti-aliasing, even NVIDIA's AI-based DLAA thing, still not there yet. So it still does that. So you either have to go really oversample and go very, very high res, to the point where the video card doesn't work anymore and it crashes. Or you just have to be smart about it and don't design stuff that has such a
you got to work around the limitations of that as well. Did that have to do with anything of like how the high quality of projector or no, or any? Anti-latency is coming through the computer, right? So I guess.
Yeah, well, you have to treat it as a tool. It's not a solution for everything. So you have to work with limitations. I mean, are there situations where a projector would work perfectly well? Yes, I will. So due to FX PhD, I know Gareth Edwards virtually, and we communicate back and forth. And I told him once that
name drop.
Yeah. Well,
it's a great name drop. I love that guy.
He's an amazing, humble, and very, very cool guy.
Especially like when he shot Monsters, was around the time that I was about to go into film school, and then everybody saw it, and then I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but everybody was like, "Oh, I could do that," and then that's what inspiring them. They couldn't do it, but like they were inspired to go to film school. But
it was an inspiration. Yeah, it was an inspiration, and he was a great tutor at the FX PhD. So I sent him the virtual production stuff we do with projectors, and he said, recently, and he said, well, if it will make you feel better, we actually, when we did the Creator, we shot with a home-based projector a few shots, and he sent me those shots from the movie they shot with a home-based projector, having ILM in his back pocket, basically. But the guy is still a guerrilla filmmaker in his head, and he finds if it works, it works. It doesn't have to be over the budget. And there was, it's a car plate, it's a car shot, but in the background there is just a home-based projector, and it works. And that's the thing.
I mean, I kind of don't.
No, it's a pretty long shot. It's at night. I'm not sure I can show it to you, but
no. But I mean, you can tell me roughly when. I kind of a night shot car.
A night shot in a car, yeah.
So that works
with the bad guys. Yeah, and it works.
And I'm sure there's some critics who are like, well, it wasn't gen locked or something like that, but I'm sure you can't.
We don't gen lock our stuff as well quite often, and you cannot tell. Again, if it depends on the project and the content and what you're trying to achieve. Most of the time, the funny thing is that to make things cinematic, you try to go very, very wide open and have everything blurred. And at that point, it basically doesn't matter what is on the projector and how realistic it is. It's just blobs of colors.
It's just one person and a blurry background.
Yeah, but then people wouldn't realize it, and they would look at it and would go, well, it's not very realistic over there. The leaves are not exactly translucent.
But then you can also tell. I think one of the early virtual production for one of the Star Wars movies, and they were using like one of the LED walls, and everything was like this. And everything with this, and then the background. You're like, wait a minute, that background looks kind of blurry.
Yeah, it would be weird if you shoot the whole film like that.
Yeah.
Again, but it's as a tool to solve some of the problems, some of the shots. I mean, sometimes like one of the cool things I'm really looking forward is the development of nerves and G-splats, Gaussian splats.
Okay.
It's basically when you just use your phone, shoot a video, walk around, feed it to AI, and let it regenerate the 3D scene. And then you have a photoreal scene that is exactly how you see it with your eyes. You put it into Unreal and say you shoot a wide scene for real in location. And then you want to have close-ups, or you didn't have the talent at the day and you just had the location to yourself. You shoot that, and then you bring the talent into the studio. You shoot all the close-ups and mediums in the studio.
Have you done a test where you go outside and do that, and then you shoot here?
Yeah, we actually used it in 48-hour film project. So I used Luma AI, one of the apps that allows to do it. I went to Rijksmuseum, which is the museum in Amsterdam, and I just shot in front of it. And then I put the scene into Unreal, and we placed a car in front of Rijksmuseum, which is very difficult and very expensive to do. But we had a car in front of Rijksmuseum in the virtual production, and it worked.
It worked?
Yeah.
Wow. Using Gaussian splatting to basically shoot if you need to do pickup shots.
Yeah.
Or no, actually, you can just shoot.
Yeah, if you don't need to design, if you're fine with the location as it is, and you're fine with the lighting, because one of the things that you cannot change lights dramatically with Gaussian splats. I mean, if the shadows are there, they're baked.
They're baked in.
And you have to work with that. But if you're happy with that, if you choose the time, I mean, there's so many apps. One of the things I used back in the days on my shoots, the Sun Seeker, and I would go to a location, and people would always like, oh, you have an app that shows where the sun's going to be. And yeah, it's something you as a filmmaker should have in your phone.
Yeah. No, we always had that because we figure out like when we're running out of light.
Exactly.
And then so that we can
and you would think that sunset is at 7, but then you see there's a tall building and the sun is going to be behind it at 5, and you're out.
That's the worst. Yeah. That's the worst. When it goes behind a building, you're like, okay,
but now
I'm
you can
screwed
tell.
for 2 hours. Can you tell me a little bit about this stage here and what it does?
Yeah, so this is basically our playground, and having my mindset back from being a guerrilla filmmaker in Ukraine, I like everything that is not like the top budget, most expensive solutions, and VIVE Mars being affordable solution, but that works, was for us the best choice to go with. And that's why I like projectors and not LED volumes. That's why I like VIVE Mars and not other solution that requires you to have trackers all over the place and stuff. Because we're compact, we're fast, we can assemble all that, put it in the car, drive anywhere we want, set it up. Within a few hours, we're ready to go in any studio. It doesn't have to be here. Yeah. But in here is where we try and test stuff.
I mean, experiment.
Yeah, and I experiment and things like involving DMX and making DMX work with Unreal and physical lights and virtual lights and letting those controls, giving those controls to the DMX operator, which is like a big deal because you sometimes hear those clashes between Unreal artists on set and gaffers who try to...
That is the weirdest.
Yeah, because they speak different languages.
Ever.
It's kind of it's
like
nice.
A big gaffer and then like a nerdy Unreal guy, and the Unreal guy.
And they don't speak the same language. Like go 2 stops prior, right? They don't know what 2 stops prior. They don't know how to calculate.
I'll show you 2 stops later.
Yeah. So instead of doing that, just give the controls to the person who actually knows what he wants, and that's been working. That's kind of beautiful. And things like multi-user editing, when you can edit stuff on the fly and you don't have to shut down and display, do the changes, open up and display and let everyone wait, and then every time you do that, the screen goes black and everyone goes, oh, did it all break? What's happening?
Yeah.
to avoid all that. So every time I'm trying to find a solution that works for everyone and that marries different kind of worlds.
Yeah, and that's your, I guess, your experience in dealing with different kinds of like clients or different kinds of positions, right? So
Yeah.
like the request of a director might be very different from the gaffer, and then how they
And it
deal
will,
with
yeah, and it will. And thinking like a DP, because having an experience as a DP and having an experience as a gaffer,
director.
as a director and then a VFX artist, I can sometimes foresee where the problems might arise and where solutions might be helpful. And yeah, that's the fun of it. It's such a new area that nobody knows exactly how it works. And you learn every day, and the exciting part of it is just learning all the time and finding solutions that nobody found yet.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool.
So, have there been, I guess, repeated like project or repeated directors that are like constantly coming back to you guys? Like, do you see that when people use it for the second time that they're like more efficient or know the limitation?
With the DPs we work with, yes, you can see the progression, and same goes with the production designers.
Production designer.
Yeah, production designers is a huge deal actually, because they
Can you
have
talk
to
about
work
that
with the artists from the get-go, because it can go both ways. You can build something from the virtual world in the physical world, or you can replicate something from the physical world you have access to in the virtual world. Like for one of the 48-hour film projects, we had access to this funky table with chairs.
Like a sci-fi table.
It's not it's like a sci-fi canteenish kind of table. But it was very simple geometry. It's like a white table with chairs attached to the table.
Yeah.
And it was very easy to replicate it. So our artists replicated that in 3D. And we have a scene where we have a table that are virtual, then a physical table. And it all works together because it's the same object in both worlds. So as a production designer, you need to think about that. You need to think about how you're going to make physical world working with a virtual world.
Who determines whether an object is supposed to be 3D or physical? Is
your budget determines it basically.
Okay. Aside from budget, is that like a harmony between like the director, the VFX supervisor, or like the virtual production supervisor?
I'd say it should go from production designer. So that should be first. If there's a physical object, the production designer knows going to work best for the story, because for me the story is most important.
Yeah.
This is where you should start. I mean, all this stuff is fun, and you move the camera like crazy all the time, and see how virtual world moves with the camera and tracking. But the story comes first.
Wait, are you sure that the story is not about parallax and showing virtual production?
No, it's about 3D. Don't you know? Yeah. So.
I'm disappointed.
Right. So if the production designer comes up with an item he has physically that works best for the story, and we need to replicate it in 3D, that's the way to go.
How early on is the virtual production supervisor brought in so that you can help with that conversation?
At a previous stage, at a storyboard stage, basically, because you don't need to story. I mean, that's not that you don't need to storyboard anymore, but now you can develop your storyboard along with your actual world.
We can do it in Unreal.
Yeah, you can do it in Unreal.
Yeah.
And now your storyboards are more like previews and more like animatics. And at that stage, you already should involve a production designer and VFX supervisor, and they should start working.
Well, in this new company that you're talking, Allard, then you're talking about having, because they're previs, then you're already involved like earlier on, right? So then you can bring it into production?
It depends on the client. Right, so it depends on when the client comes to us. Like in ideal world, in ideal world, they come to us at a stage of a script. When we analyze the script, and we tell them these parts are best to be shot in virtual production. These parts, you're better off doing it for real. And this determines the budget. And then the next stage would be once we.
So you have to break down the physical production for them too. You have to be their line producer?
But that's what you do as a VFX post house anyways. So you go through the script and you define what scenes require visual effects. Same stuff. Now you define what scenes can be shot in virtual production.
But I guess as a VFX artist, VFX supervisor, are you like persuading more for virtual production or like waiting, or is it very biased?
tricky question. I mean, well, it's both. I cannot say I'm very biased. Of course, this is my business at the moment and my passion, and I'm really interested into making this work. But at the same time, as I said, sometimes there are situations where you don't need virtual production. I mean, you can do it in virtual production, but why? If you can do it for real. And like, I still kind of like filmmaking, the real thing.
I mean,
Not that it's not
immersive.
real,
Yeah.
but I mean, as I said, it's just a tool. Use it, utilize it to tell your story. If it's the best way to tell your story, by all means, come to us and we'll help you tell it the best way. If there is a way to do it for real, and that's the best way, do it for real.
That makes sense. Also, I mean, just like outside, it, you know, a little bit unpredictable. It could rain. It already rained like twice this week. So like things like that
Welcome
can
to
happen.
Amsterdam, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so then it could be better to do it in virtual
No,
production.
for sure. Yeah. If we're talking about outside shots, yeah. Sometimes it's the weather. Sometimes it's just, I don't know, situation, the roads blocked, or some riot, or whatever. Some stuff can happen. I mean, you name it. And yeah, of course, you're more safe here. And when you're talking about big budgets and every shooting day is just hundreds of thousands of euros, and you cannot jeopardize it, yeah, you should go virtual production. But I mean, if you're doing some guerrilla stuff, you don't have the budget anyways.
That sounds so Garth-ed, to just guerrilla stuff. Can you tell me a little bit about like virtual production in Netherlands, like the climate of it, maturity? Is it growing?
It is
still
definitely
questioning?
growing.
In an indie level, or is it like a Hollywood Netflix level?
I wish. I mean, it's a bit complicated in a way that the budgets are not there, especially if we're talking about drama. So commercials are somewhat okay, and they're ready to experiment. They're ready to venture into virtual production. Drama is more cautious because the budgets are lower, and they're very, very, very careful and cautious about all these things. So it takes time to adopt new technologies. And then the companies that are there, since it's a very competitive market, it seems like there's not enough business. So I had this similar thing when I was back in Ukraine. So when I ended up organizing the Filmmakers Guild of Odessa, because I felt that the market is so small in Odessa that all the production teams that are there, they are trying to fight for the client, and they keep hiding anything they learn, anything they have from each other, and that doesn't help the market because the market doesn't grow. And by forming a guild, it basically opened up the market a bit. It created all the teams more professional because they started learning from each other. And by becoming more professional, more business started to come in. And that's how it works usually. So you have to be brave not to lose your client because you know how to do one thing perfectly.
Was that particularly for virtual production, or you're
No,
talking
that was
filmmaking?
just filmmaking. But here, same thing I'm feeling is happening in virtual production. And I kind of tried, and I'm still in the process to organize a virtual production guild of Netherlands.
How has that been?
People react very positively.
Positively?
Yeah, so to the idea of it, to the idea of sharing
concept
information.
of it, yeah.
When it comes to actually sharing the information, that's a different story.
But I can see that too in some of the studios that we interface with using Mars. I mean, their knowledge is their value of their company, so they're not going to freely share that out.
But at the same time, some of that knowledge is out there anyways.
It's just how you adapt it.
And then technology is evolving so rapidly that tomorrow that knowledge is going to be obsolete anyways. So you're just better off making sure everyone is doing virtual production on a very good level so that the market knows virtual production works.
Yeah.
And then when the market knows virtual production works, all of us going to have enough business.
Then everyone can kind of.
And when you know your thing, but then you try to do another thing that you really don't know how to do, and you fail, and your client goes, virtual production sucks. We lose, and the other guys lose. Everybody loses.
Yeah. Because they tell other people.
Yeah.
Like, I tried it before.
That's why I still want to share. Yes, it might, some of that, I mean, like the DMX thing, surprisingly, we were apparently the first one to implement DMX control over Unreal lights in Netherlands on the virtual production set.
Really?
And I'm still open to, I just didn't have the time yet, but I'm still open to writing an actual guide how to do it and share it with the other companies. Let them do it, because it made the DMX operator so happy to be able to play with that.
Too, right?
Yeah.
To put all the lighting,
Let all the gaffers be happy who end up on the virtual production set, because we all leave.
What is this guild or community called, or the one that you're trying to form?
It's called VP Guild, Virtual Production Guild.
Literally. VP
Yeah,
Guild.
and it's actually the website, surprisingly, nobody registered before me, so it's vpguild.com. It was free.
vpguild.com.
Yeah, Virtual Production
So,
Guild.
everyone join in if you can. VP
I did
Guild.
this website registered, it's not live.
Okay. And then, I mean, you have this weekly workshop to be able to bring in more people. Do you see more and more people more interested, as in, like, you know, from other areas, like maybe corporate video?
Well, look, we only started. We only had 2 virtual production Fridays, one of which was basically a test day. So the actual virtual production Friday we only did once.
Okay.
But we want to do it every week for the foreseeable future, because the more people we invite here, the more we tell them about virtual production, the more we are flexible. If you want to test something, come here and test. You don't have to bring a budget or whatever. If you have a project and you're not sure virtual production is going to work for you, let us try to convince it. I mean, one of the examples Robert told you about, the Holland Casino, the client that showed a horse in the casino.
Yeah.
So their initial idea was to just shoot a bar, photograph a bar in the actual place, and then project the bar and shoot a horse in front of it.
Project the bar.
The photo of the bar. Just project it and then shoot a horse in front of it. And I quickly realized that, well, that's not going to work, because the moment they start moving the camera, everything's going to be off. Initially, the scale is going to be off, and then the camera movement is going to be off. Everything's going to be off. So
it just looks like kind of.
Yeah, like a picture on the wall. So what we did is we actually replicated that bar in 3D without telling them. And they came for a test day, and they put up the projection photo and quickly realized, damn, it doesn't work. And we could have ended there, because they would like...
That would be really, like,
and
amazing if you actually knew,
But what we did is we're like, well, wait a second. We have a different version of this bar. And we switched to Unreal, tracked with VIVE Mars, everything, and then went, whoa. And it took them like 5 minutes to go to all the bosses and managers to check, and to change everything and go virtual production.
Were they like, oh, we won't pay more for that though? But we like
budget is not my area, so I'm not sure how much they ended up.
So then they got really nice parallax in
They didn't use a moving camera. It was a locked off shot, but the position of the camera was different. So you move it, you place it to where you want it, and it works. And then you can freeze it. One of the things we did in this particular project is that you don't need real-time graphics at that moment. The moment you freeze your camera, you locked it off, we render the image with path tracer, high quality, and then we just project that rendered image, and it works way better than real-time graphics.
Because it's super high quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because for a lot of the corporate videos that I guess some of those media departments that are talking to us, we see that they put like a PCD camera, and then they put the VIVE Mars rover on the tracker, like on there. And I was like, why are you doing that? And they're like, it's actually just to frame. They're not like moving moving the camera during the shot. I mean, it's like, just because you have camera tracking, you don't move all the time, right?
No, and you shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. So they were just using it to frame their multicam, and then afterwards, because VIVE Mars had the stationary, it would just kind of like lock it off.
Yeah.
So they just had
That's what we do. So we use DMX to control the lights. That's why the real-time thing worked. The moment they were happy with the lights and the bar, the moment they were happy with the positioning,
everything.
We locked it, we render it, they have a perfect refractions, reflections, everything's nice.
Wow, nice. And are they come back? Are they going to come back and shoot more?
Well, it doesn't happen that quick, but I'm sure they will. Yeah.
Because they were happy.
Yeah.
And they spread the word, and hopefully more people would come in for that.
Yeah. It gives them more flexibility. I mean, even if they don't have a bigger budget than they had last year, they can squeeze more shoots into the same budget. And being social networks oriented, I think that's the perfect solution for them. Instead of having like a once a year big time commercial, go a bit more affordable with virtual production, but having the variety, having the flexibility.
Well, the variety is something that Robert was just talking about, how because of social media, because it's just that the frequency needs to be way more, and then the aspect ratio, they're always changing. So it just they just need more assets rather than one big
and the attention span of a clownfish, of an average viewer, it just you just need to change content all the time. Yeah.
I see. Okay. So we were talking about, virtual production is so much about graphic cards, right? So
not always.
No?
I mean, it depends. If you're doing real-time Unreal graphics, yes. If you're doing video projection or if you're doing splats, not so much. I mean, it still requires splats, do require graphics.
Is like a consumer 4090 enough?
Surprisingly, 4090, consumer 490 is more powerful than the much more expensive A6000 version in terms of cores and the output. But yes, it doesn't have the Genlock feature, and you cannot like stack them properly and sync them together and things like that. But if you're just outputting, and that's what I like about our setup, if you're outputting from one card straight into the projector, that's the best way to go. And I'm really looking forward to 5090 because I mean,
feel like the 4090 just came out. But
yeah, but it develops so fast.
Is it every year they come out with a new one?
I think it's not that often. I think every 2 or something.
4090, but it's going to be like.
It's going to be
triple.
Big card. But
once it takes over the size of the actual PC, and then your like CPU and everything, it just on its own. I mean, it's getting close.
In the end, you will just put your PC in the video card.
Yeah.
The other way around.
CPU on top of the GPU, and then you just render. So if you have a multiple projector, does that get affected? Did it have to be Genlocked, or how did that work?
Well, when we stack projectors,
when we're talking about stacking.
Yeah, in order to get more light, then no, they basically somehow work with each other. But I think if we're going to go big and stacks of projector to get a big image, we might run into Genlock issues. Not that any project required it yet, but knowing us and our approach, we'll find a solution if it ever.
Or you'll push the limit and try to. I mean, you could also rent projector too, right? I guess if it's a really big project somewhere else, you can.
Yeah, and
VP Nordic does.
We're not reliant on a specific brand or a specific camera brand as well, because we always. One of the things I implemented is the OpenVPCal. I told you about it. The Netflix developed color science solution. It basically uses your camera with your lens as the probe, and you just shoot a plate, running it through a projector with your gray wall, the color of gray, whatever it would be, with the sizes and the output of the projector. And you get a profile you put into Unreal or any OCO supported software, and you have a very, very nice color coming out of the camera.
How long did that calibration take?
All in all, I would say about half an hour.
Oh, wow. So you can do it like
pre-light easily. On pre-light, we can do it while everyone is putting out the lights. Yeah, we can do it.
And any projector, or is there like a certain projector that's better for virtual production? Or?
The output has to be very, very big. So we're using 20,000 ANSI lumens Epson projector, which is not something you would use at home, but that allows us.
If you're really rich, maybe.
Well, if you're really rich, but that allows us to go like up to 5-ish meters wide and still have the brightness. And And then anything beyond that, you need a second projector. I would argue that you always need a second projector, just because the brighter the white point is, the more the latitude you have, the deeper the blacks you can have.
Are you shooting like them exactly overlap, or it's kind of like?
No, exactly
half?
overlap. Yeah, exactly overlap, making twice the brightness.
Okay, twice the brightness.
Yeah. And then at that stage, you're still sending the same one signal. You're not sending two viewports.
Oh, I
You're
see.
sending one signal, so the video card is doing the same work, but it's now being doubled by the
doubled
projectors.
out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess if you had like separate, then it would be two different
Yeah.
viewports. I see. Okay. And then is that enough for like car shot? Or can it
Yeah.
can it fill a car in there? I guess 5 meters.
The thing is that in a car, in the reflections, actually, if you ask anyone who shot a car with an LED ceiling, for example, they usually, it's so much light, they go up to 1 to 3% of output of the LED volume because it's just way too much. So they have to really, really, really dim it down because there's just too much reflection. You stop seeing the talent.
Yeah.
And with projectors,
And it just looks like you're in Tokyo the whole time. Yeah.
And with projectors, it's soft enough. You can control it easily. You can go really dim.
When you go really dim, does it like flicker or anything?
No.
Nothing?
No. It's just the output power of basically like a color correction. The thing with LED is if you go really, really dim, you lose the bit depth. And you start to having posterization and other issues and flickering. And with projectors now, it's pretty easy to go dim.
Do you see like a more trend of people for car stage using projectors? I mean, they're selling LED walls very hard for that.
Yeah, I would still like if you would ask me if as a producer what was the best way, I would say the best way is to have, for example, an LED or projector wall in the back. But for the reflections, only the projector. And one of the reasons is that the car usually has a curvature, and it naturally enlarges everything it reflects.
And
and you have an LED wall, you can see every individual LED lamp in there. And then you have to do rotoscope, and then you have to paint it over, and do a lot of stuff in post, and then the whole virtual production thing just doesn't make any sense.
I see.
With projectors, you do a back projection in a frame, 12 feet frame, 20 feet frame, depending on the projection. It's just blobs of light blending nicely into each other. You can enlarge it as much as you want. It still looks natural.
Wait, the projector is projecting directly onto the talent? Or
you can use back or front projection. It depends on the setup. So we usually go with front projection. Okay. And then it doesn't shine on the talent.
Not like blinding the guy in a way. Okay.
No. And then when we did the 48-hour film project, we had 3 outputs. So one in the back for what the camera sees, one for the reflections on the top, and one was like a director's monitor for the driver to actually see where he's going and start spinning the wheel at least somewhat in time where the actual curve comes in. Otherwise, it just looks very, very fake.
Yeah, when they're just like.
But now he can see where he's going. It's all like it was all videos, and they're all synced with each other because it was a 360 video. And so he actually sees what the driver saw on the day when this plate was shot.
Was that like they had a reference monitor and then they
and he had the reference monitor and he looked at it and he knew where he was going.
I'm driving off a cliff now. I should stop doing that. Yeah. Okay, that's super cool. And that you kind of created that like workflow, right? With the whole reference monitor and everything, so then they can shoot. And then I guess eventually, if someone wants to do car stage, you would implement all of that to it. Right?
Yeah. And again, it was one video card because it has 4 outputs, so you can output different projectors. Since it's not a 3D world, you don't have to render it 3 times. It's a video output, so it's a little easier on the video card, and you can pull it off.
I see. So if you guys do another, I guess, project where you're free reign, what would you do? Like, what's the next challenge you want to try out?
I still want to try
horror.
Yeah.
That came so naturally and organically. How did you think about horror?
Yeah, well, I really think it's something that is not really present in Netherlands, as well as sci-fi. So 2 genres like horror and sci-fi is not really present here, but something I really like.
Did Ukraine have
not really, no. No,
like
not
a
sci-fi.
Grim Reaper or like a
no,
slasher?
there was one relatively famous horror that was very bad, and it was famous for that, for being really, really bad.
Everyone had one. Classic bad.
Yeah, very bad. But no, not really. But again, it's like, but it's in a way, it's the easiest thing to shoot, because if you.
But it's also the hardest thing to shoot.
Yeah, but if it really sucks, becomes a classic on its own.
Because it's just like, it's just human reaction. If it's good, you're scared.
Yeah,
if you're not good,
if it sucks,
you're not.
it's
Yeah,
it's
just like humor, right?
Yeah.
If you laugh, then you know everything's working. If you're not, so yeah. So if you were gonna do a horror, which it just so happened to be 1 to 3 minutes for
Right.
best shot horror
That's
competition.
exactly what I thought about. 1 to 3 minutes,
Yeah.
and maybe find a competition to apply to.
And then the plug. I should just pull out a QR code and I'm just kidding. But if you were going to do that, is there any other genres that you're like thinking of that you want to try out? But because this is a test stage, right? You're kind
Yeah.
of just trying out all these kinds of workflows, and that's best for as inspiration for all the other people
it's not about even the genres. It's about basically client, because I still think virtual production has more chances to develop first with commercials, just because they happen faster and they make decisions faster.
Wasn't the whole like the Matrix, you know, with a bunch of cameras rotating, that was actually done on a commercial first. I think of the Coke or a Sprite commercial, and then they then
I didn't know that.
implemented it. So like
Yeah.
a lot of the, I bet
There,
a lot of the visionary or style, they're usually developed
Yeah.
in commercials.
Yeah. You mean the Michael Bay stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. Michael Bay stuff, blowing up stuff, and you know.
But yeah, and so it depends on the client and its interiors, its exteriors, its moving shots, its static shots. I really want to try as much as humanly possible to see where the bottlenecks are and find a way to solve issues that come up.
Would that all be in like photoreal, or would you want to try stylize to the point like, you know, the Hitchcock zoom
Yeah,
that
if
people are talking about?
if it's a photo shoot, they usually want to go crazy. They
Yeah.
want to know photoreal. So both, I would say both.
Where like you can push in the camera, you need tracking, but then your animation would kind of be triggered somehow, like the opposite direction.
It can be
hyper
done.
real or something like that.
Yeah, can be done.
Okay, so you're gonna do that for the horror film, right?
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, that's great. As a filmmaker, what kind of story do you want to tell?
There is a book, like a series of books called The Labyrinths of Echo, written by an author from Odessa. And it's an urban fantasy, and I've read it ages ago. And since then, I really, really want to shoot that.
What is it, like children fantasy? Or
No, that's the thing about it. It's like an adult kind of fantasy, urban fantasy thing.
it's urban fantasy.
Yeah, it's very, very unique.
Which genre of fantasy is it? Is it like horror fantasy, or like what's the overall?
No, well, there are some
Pan's
really
Labyrinth
there's some really weird stuff happening in there. Sometimes like horror stuff as well.
Pan's Labyrinth,
but it's
kinda like
also
that.
romance and action and it's like all kinds of things.
That sounds really epic.
It is really epic, and there are some scenes in there that are just there in my head. I know exactly how to shoot them. I know. Exactly
How do you visualize that? Are you using like Unreal to kind of piece it together, or are you using AI to?
Lately, I start with AI.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Which AI?
I play with all of them. I
all
mean,
of
DALL-E, Midjourney, Flux through Crea, and even Comfy UI on a Mac, which doesn't really work well on a Mac, but still works. And so I play with all the stuff that is out there, and I kind of like it for the fact that it hallucinates like crazy, just gives you really weird stuff. But
the
that
randomness it probably gives you
that
the
weird
surprising,
stuff
right?
is like, oh, that's a nice idea. I never
That's
thought
the
about it.
inspiration, right?
And then you just blend it. So I don't treat AI as a threat, but more like an assistant to your creativity.
Because I think for like filmmakers, we, you know, always had some kind of story inside, you know, thematically to ourself or our soul.
Yeah.
And then we spend most of our lives trying to actualize it, right? Whether you learn how to draw, or if you learn how to, you know, screenwriting, and you basically, you know, make it in physical form. But with AI, you just prompt it a little bit and you can figure it out.
Yeah, but I mean, I still treat it more like an inspiration, not like a final product.
Oh, no, for sure. I think that story that we're talking about, it's like inside our soul or in our mind, it's perfect, but it's not really perfect.
Yeah.
And you're just spending your whole life practicing it to make it.
To make it perfect. It's just like with dreams, with scary dreams. When you're really, really scared in your dream and you wake up and you're trying to tell the scary dream to anyone and you realize it's so dumb and it's not scary at all.
I still have a bunch of dreams about like high school where like I forget all my like I forgot that I joined a class and then it's like the final exam. I don't know why I'm saying that, but I guess in a way.
I had Freddy Krueger chasing me in a couple of my dreams. That was scary.
Is it because of like the movie and then that happened, or is it still
because
like
of the
long
movie?
time
Yeah,
ago?
but in the dream, I knew if he catches me, I'm screwed in the real life. So I ran like crazy.
Wow,
that was
that's
scary.
Awesome. I mean that's when you know a movie's working, that it haunts you afterward, right? So you're an early Mars user. Can you tell me a little bit about your first impression with it?
Well, the first impression was the ease of setting it up. I mean, the base stations and the rovers, and just plug it in and it pops up. Sometimes at the beginning it wouldn't pop up, but then you reboot them and it would pop up. I mean, there were some in the beginning, but still, I mean, I am all for guerrilla solutions, and sometimes I know they're not perfect from the get-go, and you just need to help to make them perfect. And that's exactly how I treat it. So if there is a feature that I'm lacking, if there is something that doesn't work, I gladly share with the company that produces the hardware to help them make it better. Just like if you can see here, we got a red Scarlet. This is my personal red Scarlet. This is the first red Scarlet bought in Ukraine. I bought it on the 4th day after it was announced. And then I waited for it for like half a year, and it didn't work so well from the beginning.
But it was like the cheapest global shutter.
It was the cheap. It's not a global shutter. It's a rolling shutter.
Oh, it's rolling shutter.
It's rolling shutter, but it was the cheapest 4K camera.
Yeah, 4K.
Raw 4K raw camera at the moment. It's a cinema camera. So, and it still works. I mean, it's been with me in Afghanistan and in Somalia, and it went through all kinds of stuff, and it's still working.
It's still working.
Yeah, and I always treat it, yes, it's not as robust maybe and not as flexible and nice as Alexa, but I like that kind of stuff.
But it's also
same for me. I have the same feeling to VIVE Mars. I mean, maybe it's not like.
So you're gonna bring it to Somalia and bring it to.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I think it would survive. I mean, it's mostly metal, so it would do well.
Well, be careful. If it can survive the dust.
Well, someone sent us a request. They were like, "Oh, can you take a look at our rover?" And then we saw it, and it was just completely flat. The whole thing was flat, and we're like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Oh, well, a forklift kind of rolled over it when I was recentering."
But that's nice, because now you don't need to calculate where you calculate the distance to the ground.
Because it's in the ground.
Because it's in the ground, it's flat.
Yeah. It doesn't turn on also, but that happens. Okay, so when we were talking about, you were talking about portability, and so sometimes you have the people come here and then they were able to sign on to a job, or they buy into a job and they're like, okay, we're going to bring this out to either the bigger stage that we've seen before, or even other stages. Can you talk about like portability? Because people really think that like virtual production is like it's in a studio and it just stays in a studio.
Yeah, well, partly because of the tracking system. If you're using a tracking system that requires infrared reflectors and markers all over the place for the system to work, then you're kind of stuck, and you need to spend a lot of time to put those markers anywhere else. And like I've seen a situation where I was on a stage and there was a tracking system like that, and they had it working, and then the gaffer decided to have a big frame on top of everything. Big frame, like a 20-foot frame, which covered all the trackers.
So he was kind of like diffusing light or something like that?
Yeah, he wanted to, all of a sudden, to diffuse light on the day, of course. And they had to put the new markers and then spend half an hour only to remap the new world. And so it's like, with us, I mean, base stations. Every time people are like, "Oh, can I move it? I'm treating it like you can place it at the very, very end.
Yeah,
Place your lights.
Reset tracking volume.
We'll then place it whenever it fits. Recenter, done, works. And that's the beautiful thing about it.
That you can do that. And it's the same tool that you're testing here that you're bringing out, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like you're doing it here and then maybe there's another system over there that might not be compatible. You just kind of just bring it out.
Put it into a box and then we drive and we unpack it and it works. Yeah. And now it's now became much more reliable. You just plug it in, shows up on the main system and it's working, always.
That's awesome. Is there anything that you want, a request, or is there anything you want from the next level of VIVE Mars or next update? Is there something that's lacking?
Well, there is one thing that I tried to do. I thought it would be like that, but it didn't work like that. So I wanted the world to rotate, and I wanted the center of the world to be on a rotating thing. So when I rotate the thing, the whole world rotates with me.
Oh, wait, we did that. We did that in our first shoot when we.
That didn't work with me. Huh? Somehow it didn't work.
Well, I mean, all you do is basically take the world center and you child it under the tracker, and then so you. But I have to say, when we did it in Moonshine, which is like a huge stage in Taiwan, and we did it, and then when they turned, you could see everyone's face, like literally all the colors draw, like completely like dead. Everybody wanted to throw up right after. It was like, so and everyone was like,
we shouldn't do it then.
No. That was it. But theirs was almost. It was all the way to the back. So I was in there when that guy did that, and I was just like, okay, let's not do that too many times, or at least warn us when they do it.
No, we should do that with the clients we don't really like.
Yeah. Well, no, you want them to come back. You want them to come back. Okay. But have you ever tried? Would you want to try to do it like track any other objects?
Oh yeah, like I've things like flashlights or stuff that you can. I've seen those examples from Unreal themselves.
I've seen that example so many times. I don't know how practical.
I don't think it's really that practical.
It's like kind of like a demonstration kind of thing to do.
Yeah, but if it's not a flashlight, but if it's something that you can move over there, like force move.
Oh, okay.
Star Wars kind of stuff. You move it and it moves over there. It's and it follows your hand. It's kind of nice.
That could be cool. Or it's like if it could trigger animation or something else, that could be.
Well,
have you tried the Fizz track?
Yeah, we used both focus and zoom. We didn't use 3 of them at the same time because you never change iris don't really during the show.
Well, LED or projector, you probably do it, but for a green screen, it's a no-no because you would just end up screwing up your key.
Yeah. Well, the only thing, again, maybe for the convenience that if you open up or close down, the virtual camera does that at the same time, and then you adjust the ISO of the virtual camera or something like that.
That would just be so hard to coordinate.
You can do that just for the depth of field to correspond to your lens, because sometimes you would change something, you close down the lens, and you forget to close it down in the virtual world, and then the depth of field doesn't work out because it works in a different way. Then the iris thing just helps you. You know it's going to be the exact same iris in virtual as it is on the camera.
Got it.
But the focus and zoom, works beautiful.
Good. Very cool. And then, so what kind of zoom do you guys use? Like
depends on the cinematographer who comes.
They have a bunch.
Yeah, sometimes it's an Arri, sometimes it's an Angenu, so really depends.
Okay.
It does take some time to calibrate it in Unreal to set up a lens profile.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah. But like, if you don't move your rover at all from the camera, I guess you can just keep that.
Yeah, when you keep the files and you build up the library eventually, and that's another thing I would gladly share with the guild eventually, so that everyone shares their lens profiles to work with Fizz, so that you know you're using this specific lens. You just go to a library of a guild library of lens profiles. You download this lens profiles. You plug it into Unreal. You don't need to calibrate anymore. You know it's going to work.
Nice.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That'd be nice. But a lot of the tracking, I guess, companies try to keep that contained in their own ecosystem as well.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the data that is embedded in the lens itself. I'm talking about calibration on the Fizz
Oh,
So
okay.
every time you calibrate, you go to the 0, you reset
Yeah,
the
yeah,
fizz, and then you go 1 meter, 2 meter, blah, 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 stuff like that. So that calibration,
That
in
can
order
be-
not to do it every
that can
time,
be shared.
you can share it.
Yeah, I guess you can just do a lens profile and then just put it online. Please share that in our virtual production community.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. I think a lot of the community right now is, like we were just talking about, a little bit hesitant to share any kind of information because they're scared either it's going to be like given to a competitor or they'll lose any business.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think.
And there is a bit of truth to that.
Yeah.
So this insecurity is not out of nowhere. There are examples of companies that are not very good.
Yeah.
But I mean, those who want to steal stuff, they're going to do it anyways.
Yeah, well, they're going to find a way.
And with the rest of the good guys, you can just work together and make the whole industry develop.
Cool. Yeah, I think they need that. Basically, the more it grows, the more it matures. There's more case studies, and they kind of had this like this effect where everybody kind of can really make it more. I don't know, like more
Set
standard.
the bar, yeah. Set the
Yeah.
bar below which you never go,
Yeah.
and that bar should be high enough.
So, what are you looking forward to virtual production, or even not just filmmaking itself? Like, what are you excited for?
It's difficult to say really because, in a way, I'm a bit worried about lately movies becoming less about a story and more about visual effects and.
Well, that's been happening a while, right?
It's been happening a while. I mean, my favorite films are still from my childhood, from the 90s.
Yeah.
And I still think it's probably a bias and an age bias, and I still think those stories are the best. But
I have a theory though. My theory is that with AI, that with anything being very possible, or like they make visual effects super cheap, or like you can make these outlandish kind of movies, that the opposite will happen. That, you know, kind of like the 70s when indie movies kind of came back, it was just about just being really personal.
yeah, I do think you're right, because
Well, I
people
mean-
will eventually be fed up with that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be
Well-
getting hotter and hotter in the nearest
Well,
years.
Netflix also is adjusting that. Right? I don't know. I don't have any insight from that, but just from like the Hollywood Reporter and stuff, they're now doing much smaller movies rather than just one gigantic VFX movie. So maybe some of that will, you know, kind of filter into indie, something into Amsterdam, and then more personal stories.
That would be nice. Yeah, and then making this stuff more realistic and yet at the same time more affordable would definitely help. And I mean, and coming to a moment when there will be some sort of a hybrid when it's perfectly fine to shoot for real half of your stuff and then half of your stuff that requires some special treatment, some special control, but still being realistic and still being true to the story. You do it here.
Then you kind of have like the hybrid approach of shooting. But we talked a lot about a lot of things around here, and thank you for having me. Do you want to say anything to the community, or even the Mars community, or virtual production, or filmmakers? Any last words?
I think the message would be, don't be alarmed by all the development, and the future is bright, I think.
Yeah.
And the more we share, and the more we help this industry mature and develop, the better we all gonna be.
That's a really good ending word. And make a horror film.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
And we can start with making a horror film.
Plug. QR code rising. And da-da. Okay. Thanks again.
Thanks. Man.